Hello, chat. Where's the game? Game capture? Hello? Game capture. Capture specific application. The long drive. Where's the game? Hello? There it is. Okay. Let me switch over to... Okay. Looks good. Okay, yeah, it's been a while since we last did the stream, huh? So last time, it was like a month ago. Yeah. Also, so before the stream started, I was actually reading through the comment section, or rather the discussion forum on Steam for this game. Because this game, I think I saw a lot of people complain about how this game hasn't gotten updates in a while. And the dev was being accused of not doing a great job at being transparent. Now, with that being said, personally, I don't really have any problem with this game, aside from the performance being a big issue. I just saw the discussion. I was like, yeah, it's a little peculiar. Because, you know, this game hasn't officially gotten any stable updates for like more than 2 years or something. The timestamp above says otherwise, because this is the beta branch. The stable branch hasn't gotten anything lately. Well, regardless, it doesn't matter for us because we're still going to be driving. So last time, or what was our last save again? What were we doing? So last time, I think we raided this place already, right? Milk, yep. Not much. Okay. So by the way, you may have also noticed the I update the looks of the... Oop, that is not what I meant. I update the looks of the book on the top left. I figure I give the quote-unquote 3D panel plugin a try. This plugin is... I saw this plugin on Twitter. I thought it was super cool. I figure I'd share it as well. So here's what you could do with it. You could like turn it into like 3D panel if you wanted to, but like by default, I think, you know, we want to still be able to read and whatnot. So I have it still on as just flat for now, but like you could do all this flipping around if you wanted to. I thought this is pretty neat. But right now I'm just using it as a glorified rounded corner shadow thing, because it's not really applicable when we're trying to have a readable experience. Right, so let's get back on the road. Now last time we were on to the this graph, but I figured I should start at the beginning of the subchapter again. So, okay, threat states. Threat states. Let me minimize Steam as well so I can actually see. A threat states, before looking at the threat scheduling algorithms, you must first understand the various execution states that a threat can be in. The threat states are as follows. Ready. A thread in the ready state is waiting to execute or be swapped after completing a wait. When looking for a thread to execute, the dispatcher considers only thread in a ready state. There's also deferred ready. We're off to a great start. Let me also put on some music, by the way. I am having trouble climbing this hill. Deferred ready. The state is used for threads that have been selected to run on... Okay, there's another building already. A specific processor, but have not actually started running there. The state exists so that the kernel can minimize the amount of time the per processor lock on the scheduling database is held. Oh, hello. Bye-bye.
The others will kill you.
Yeah. I keep reading how I'm supposed to like... R mouse... Okay. E reload. No. Oh, there we go. Okay, reloaded. Ooh, that's a nice looking. That's very similar to our car, actually. Ooh, guys, it's the exact same car. That means it's a little rusted, but this should just go on there. Here we go. Holy shit, guys. We have a working trunk once again. We should probably clean up the actual thing itself, but you know, it works. I don't think this engine is going to be any better. We can, however, take the headlight. Wow, guys, we're fixing our car. For real this time. What are the odds of running into the same car? Yeah, we can replace the side door as well. It's, you know, it's a little rusted, but looks fine. If you can find a paint, that would be great. Also, crowbar. Gordon Freeman's been around here. Anything in the trunk? Nope. That's a decent amount of oil, but we don't need to swap out the engine because it's exactly the same thing. More cars. Ooh. How well does this engine work? Where's the oil cap for this thing? Because this looks like a fairly decent car. I don't think we need it, but very cool. Oh, paint, just what we needed. Do you think that'll fix up cover up the rust? No? Oh, damn, that sucks. Oh, I guess there's not much here then. That's a shame. For the first time, we can actually get up here as well. I'm gonna take that downstairs in a little bit. How do I get in? Oh. Is that a toilet? What's a toilet? How do I get in? This windowsill is on the way. Sorry, in the way. Oh, come on. Come on. Yeah, you got this. Up. Oh. Okay. Oh, come on. Surely I can get in here. Oh, okay. Well, that's a whole lot of nothing. Thanks. I can try that again on the other side. Hang on. Nope. Okay. That's an engine. Doesn't look very good. Well, okay, well, there's a whole lot of nothing in here. Cool. Let's get back on the road. Check on the oil real quick. Sorry, gas. How are we doing on oil? We're doing fine. Almost forgot to close the cap. That could have been this catastrophic. Okay. Standby. A thread in this state has been selected to run on a particular processor. When the correct conditions exist, the dispatcher performs the context switch to this thread. Only one thread can be in standby state for each processor on the system. Note that a thread can be preempted out of the standby state before it ever executes. For example, a higher priority thread becomes runnable before the standby thread begins execution. Running. After a dispatcher performs a context switch to a thread enters the running state and executes. The thread's execution continues until its quantum ends, and then another thread at the same priority is ready to run. It is preempted by a higher priority thread. It terminates and yields execution, or it voluntarily enters a waiting state. Speaking of waiting, a thread can enter a waiting state in several ways. A thread can voluntarily wait for an object to synchronize its execution. The OS can wait on the thread's behalf, such as to resolve a paging IO. Or an environment subsystem can direct the thread to suspend itself. When the thread wait ends, depending on its priority, a thread can either begin running immediately or is moved back to the ready state. Transition. Hang on. No, yeah, here, Steam window. We dropped our thing already. Including this rear view mirror. Alright, get back on there. Transition. A thread enters a transition state. Ooh, okay. If it is ready for execution, but its kernel stack is paged out of memory. After its kernel stack is brought back into memory, the thread enters... Okay. Could be worse. Thread enters the ready state. Thread stacks are discussed in Chapter 5. Terminated. When a thread finishes executing and enters this state. After a thread is terminated, the executive thread object, the data structure in system memory that describes the thread, might or might not be deallocated. The object manager sets the policy regarding when to delete the object. For example, the object remains if there are any open handles to a thread. A thread can also enter the terminated states from other states if it is killed explicitly by some other thread. For example, by calling the terminate thread Windows API. It's also initialized. The state is used internally while a thread is being created. Figure 4-8 shows the main state transitions for threads. The numeric values represent the internal values of each state and can be viewed with a tool such as Performance Monitor. The ready and deferred states are represented as 1. This reflects the fact that the deferred ready state acts as a temporary placeholder for the scheduling routine. It is true for standby state as well. These states are almost always very short-lived. Threads in these states always transition quickly to ready, running, or waiting. So as you can see, there's an init on the top left there. It goes into ready or deferred ready. And could also go into standby and then running. And then it might get terminated or is waiting and then transition back to ready. Experiment. Thread scheduling state change. I can't speak. Experiment. Thread scheduling state changes. You can watch thread scheduling state changes with Performance Monitor tool in Windows. You know what you can also do? Take a nap. There we go. should probably turn that off. Okay. You can watch thread scheduling state changes with performance monitoring tool. This utility can be useful when you're debugging a multi-threaded application and you're unsure about the state of the threads running the process. To watch thread scheduling changes by using the performance monitor tool, follow these steps. Download the CPU stress tool from the book's downloadable resources. Run CPU stress.exe, thread 1 should be active. Activate thread 2 by selecting it in the list and clicking activate, or by right-clicking and select activate from context menu. This tool should look something like this. Click the start button by typing, click the start button and type perfmon to start the performance monitoring tool. If necessary, select the chart view, then remove the existing CPU counter. Right-click on the graph and choose properties. Click the graph tab and change the start chart vertical scale to 7. You saw in figure 4-8 that various states are associated with numbers 0 through 7. Then click OK. And then your door falls off. Are these, like, components not screwed in any way? How are they falling off so easily? Click the Add button on the toolbar to open the Add Counters dialog box. Select Thread Performance Object and select Thread State Counter. Select Show Description checkbox to see the definition of values. In the Instances box, select all instances and type CPU stress and type search. Select the first 3 threads of CPU stress, 0 through 2, and then click the Add button, and then click OK. Thread 0 should be in state 5 because that's the GUI thread, waiting for user input. Thread 1 should be alternating between 2 and 5, running and waiting. Huh. And I never use the, I don't use performance monitor very often. I should try that. Not in this case though, because it's gonna screw up the streaming if I do it locally on my system. So I'll leave that up to you if you want to try it. Dispatcher database. To make thread scheduling decisions, the kernel maintains a set of data structures known collectively as the dispatcher database. The dispatcher database keeps track of which threads are waiting to execute and which processors are executing which threads. To improve scalability, including thread dispatching concurrency, Windows multiprocessor systems have per-processor dispatcher ready queues and shared processor group queues. As illustrated in 4-9, in this way, each CPU can check its own shared ready queue for the next thread to run without having to lock the system-wide ready queues. So we have P1, which presumably stands for, Windows Multiprocessor Dispatcher Database in the caption. This example shows 6 processors. P represents processes, T represents threads. Okay, so that stands for process, not processor. So process 1 has like 3 threads, process 2 has 3 threads. Group 1, the CPU 012. Huh. Windows versions prior to Windows 8 and Windows Server 2012 used per processor ready queues and a per processor ready summary, which were stored as a part of processor control block structure. See the fields of PRCB, type DT, and the !_ KPRCB in their kernel debugger. Starting with Windows 8 and Windows Server 2012, A shared ready queue and ready summary are used for a group of processors. This enables the system to make better decisions about which processor to reuse for that group of processors. Per CPU ready queues are still there and used for threads with affinity constraints. Note, because the shared data structure must be protected by a spin lock. Ooh, okay. Hang on. Okay, we lost one headlight already. Wow. Because the shared data structure must be protected by spin lock, the group should not be too large. That way contention on the queues is significant. In the current implementation, the maximum group size is 4 logical processors. If the number of logical processors is greater than 4, then more than one group would be created, and the available processors spread evenly. For example, on a 6-processor system, two groups of 3 processors each will be created. Okay, so they should be created evenly. Like 24 would be like 6 group, I guess. The ready queues, ready summary, described next, and some other information is stored in the kernel structure named K shared ready queue that's stored in the PRCB. Although it exists for every processor, it's used only on the first processor of each processor group, sharing it with the rest of the processors in that group. The dispatcher ready queues, read list head in K shared ready queue, contains the thread that are in the ready state, waiting to be scheduled for execution. There is one queue for each of the 32 priority level to speed up the selection of which thread to run or preempt. Windows maintains a 32-bit mask called the ready summary. Each bit set indicates one or more threads in the ready queue for that priority level. Bit 0 represents priority 0, bit 1 priority 1, and so on. Instead of scanning each ready list to see whether it is empty or not, which will make scheduling decisions depending on the number of different priority threads, a single bit is performed as a native processor command to find the highest bit set. Regardless of the number of threads that is in the ready queue, this operation takes a constant amount of time. This dispatcher database is synchronized by raising IRQL to dispatch level, also known as 2. For an explanation of interrupt priority levels, or IRQLs, see Chapter 6. Now, I see IRQL a lot, I'm still not really sure what that means. Raising IRQL in this way prevents other threads from interrupting thread dispatching on the processor. It's really hard to pay attention to the road when I'm trying to read it. You figure we figure that out after 9 streams. Wait. Don't think I didn't see you there, buddy. Nope, that's not what I meant. Raising IRQL in this way prevents other threads from interrupting thread dispatching on the processor because threads normally run at IRQL 0 or 1. However, more is required than just raising IRQL because other processors can simultaneously raise the same IRQL in an attempt to operate on their dispatcher database. How Windows synchronizes access to the dispatcher database is explained later in this chapter in a section Multiprocessor Systems. Experiment. Viewing ready threads. You can view the list of ready threads of a kernel debugger, !ready command. This command displays the thread or list of threads that are ready to run at each priority level. Here's an example generated on a 32-bit machine with 4 logical processors. And once again, we can't really do that because I don't have the kernel debugger set up. The processor numbers have 0x 8,000 added to them, but the actual processor numbers are easy to see. The first line in the address shows the address of K-share ready queue with the group number in parentheses. Where? 00 in the output. Oh, I mean like this one, right. Then the graphic representation of the processors in this particular group, the 4 asterisks. Oh, that's what the asterisks mean. The last 4 line seems odd, as they appear to indicate no ready threads, contradicting the preceding output. These lines indicate ready threads from older dispatcher ready list head member of the PRCV because the per processor ready queues are used for threads that have restrictive affinity set on the subset of processors inside the processor group. You can also dump the K-share ready queue of the address given by the ready command. The proc count shows the processor count in the shared group. For example, in this example, also note the ready summary value 0x1d1. This translates to 1110101 in binary. Reading binary 1 bits from right to left. This indicates that thread exists in priorities 0, 4, 6, 7, 8, which match the preceding output. Quantum. As mentioned earlier in this chapter, a quantum is the amount of time a thread is permitted to run before Windows checks whether another thread at the same priority is waiting to run. If a thread completes its quantum and there are no other threads at its priority, Windows permits the thread to run for another quantum. On client versions of Windows, thread runs for 2 clock intervals by default. On server systems, thread runs for 12 clock intervals by default. What is a clock interval? We'll explain how to change these values in the controlling the quantum section. The rationale for the longer default value on server system is to minimize context switching. By having a longer quantum, server applications that wake up because of a client request have a better chance of completing the request and going back into the wait state before their quantum ends. The length of the clock interval varies according to the hardware platform. The frequency of the clock interrupts is up to the HAL, the hardware abstraction layer, not the kernel. For example, the clock interval for most x86 processors is about 10 milliseconds. Note that these machines are no longer supported by Windows and are used here only for example purposes. Hello Doge, how's about the EEP? Same. How are you doing? And for most x86 and x64 multiprocessor is about 50 milliseconds. The clock interval stored in the kernel variable KE maximum increment is as hundreds of nanoseconds. Saw you streaming. Hello. You're having a good evening. Although threads run in units of clock intervals, the system does not use the count of clock ticks as the gauge for how long a thread has run, and whether its quantum has expired. This is because the thread run time accounting is based on processor cycles. Sorry, just an unrelated tangent. I wonder if so it's December is coming up. I wonder if Vito's gonna actually get back to driving more this time around, because last time he didn't finish doing a long drive, I think. I'm hoping he'll do more at some point. Alright, back to rating. When the system starts up, it multiplies the processor speed. CPU clock cycles per second in hertz by the number of seconds it takes for one clock tick to fire, based on K maximum increment value described earlier, to calculate the number of clock cycles to which each quantum is equivalent. This value is stored in the kernel variable Ki cycles per clock quantum. The result of this accounting method is that threads do not actually run for a quantum number based on the clock ticks. However, instead they run for a quantum target, which represents an estimate of what the number of CPU clock cycles the threads has consumed should be when its turn will be given up. This target should be equal to an equivalent number of clock interval timer ticks. That's because, as you just saw, the calculation of clock cycles per quantum is based on the clock interval timer frequency, which you can check by using the following experiment. Note, however, that because interrupt cycles are not changed to the thread, the actual clock time might be longer. So, I'll be honest, this entire section is going through over my head. I'm not sure how important this section will be for me. Do you think my dumbasses can automate my homework via MCP since I saw you mention it? I don't even know how to use an MCP, honestly. I've never used one. Okay, bed. Nap. MCP and claw tokens expensive? Yeah, I'm sure it is. I haven't really actually paid for Claude before. I just use something that uses cloud. Which is good enough for my use cases for the most part. At work. Experiment determining the clock interval frequency. The Windows Get System Time Adjustment function returns the clock interval. To determine the clock interval, run the clock res tools from sysinternals. What the heck is a clock res tool? I've never used it before. The current interval may be lower than the maximum default clock interval because of multimedia timers. Multimedia timers are used with functions such as time begin period and time set event. They're used to receive callbacks with intervals of 1 millisecond at best. This causes a global reprogramming of the kernel interval timer, meaning the scheduler wakes up in more frequent intervals, which can degrade system performance. In any case, this does not affect quantum lengths, as described in the next section. It is also possible to read the value using the kernel global variable K maximum increment, as shown here. This corresponds to a default of 15.6 milliseconds. Might just use a local model and connect it to an API. Assuming you have something you can run locally. By the way, I've tried a lot of different local models, at least, ones from major companies. Like, I've used Gamma, I've used GPT-OSS, what else? 5.4? That was a long time ago. I'll be honest, I still don't really find... So, first of all, I don't like the output of any GPT model, like, not even on ChatGPT. I think the most useful model for me has been Gamma 3, but even then, it's not great sometimes. I have DeepSeek running. I think I've used DeepSeek like locally a few times. That's about it. I don't know. I never liked the output of DeepSeek either. Mainly because like the main one I was using was a reasoning model, so it yapped a lot. And the output usually doesn't really satisfy what I'm looking for. Quantum accounting. Each process has a quantum reset values in the process control block, the K process class. This value is used when creating new threads inside the process and is duplicated from the thread control block, the K thread block, which is then used when giving a thread a new quantum target. The quantum reset value is stored in the terms of actual quantum units. We'll discuss what these mean soon, which are then multiplied by the number of clock cycles per quantum, resulting in the quantum target. GPU models suck, but 1.3 GPA suck more. So true. As the thread runs, CPU clock cycles are charged at different events, such as context switches, interrupts, and certain scheduling decisions. If at a clock interval timer interrupt, the number of CPU clock cycles charged has reached or passed the quantum target, quantum end processing trigger, it is triggered. If there's another thread at the same priority waiting to run, a context switch occurs to the next thread and ready. Anyways, bye. Okay, see you later. Have a good night, Doge. I'm gonna get my cough drop real quick. I had a 3-hour training course that will lead earlier this week, and I didn't bring my cough drop with me. That was a terrible mistake. Because like by hour 2, my throat was already dying. You think it'd get better the more I stream? Because you know, some of these streams I talk a lot, especially these driving streams. But no, I feel like my limit is still like 2 to 3 hours. Internally, quantum unit is represented as 1/3 of a clock tick. That is, 1 clock tick equals 3 quantums. That means on client Windows system, threads have a quantum reset value of 6, which is 2 times 3. And server system has a quantum reset value of 36, 12 times 3 by default. For this reason, the KI cycles per clock quantum value is divided by 3 at the end of calculation previously described, because the original value describes only CPU cycles per clock interval timer tick. The reason a quantum was stored internally. Thanks. There we go. The reason a quantum is stored internally as a fraction of a clock tick rather... Thanks. Do you think we're ever gonna reach the end of the game? We've been driving for how long? We're on part 9 now, so that's like almost 30 hours, right? And the reason the quantum was stored internally as a fraction of a clock tick rather than as an entire tick was to allow for partial quantum decay on wait completion on versions of Windows prior to Windows Vista. Prior versions used clock interval timers for quantum expiration. If this adjustment had not been made, it would have been possible for threads to never have their quantums reduced. For example, if a thread ran, entered a wait state, ran again, entered another wait state, but was never the current running thread, when the clock interval timer fired, it would have never have its... Okay. Okay. That could have been really bad. Save that. Okay. Okay. Thanks. Well, you know what? I'm starting to think we should maybe focus on reading for a little bit before we continue. I'm having trouble concentrating on the road. When the road is this arduous. Ooh, I didn't know I can take off the license plate. Okay. If a thread ran, entered a wait state, ran again, and entered another wait state, was never currently running thread when the clock... Hang on. I don't know why it cuts out like that sometimes. It would have never had its quantum charge before the time is running, because the threads now have CPU clock cycles charged instead of quantums. Because this no longer represents the... this no longer depends on the clock interval timer, these adjustments are not required. Okay. Experiment. Determining the clock cycles per quantum. Alright, I need to fix this, hang on. How can I... Okay, I know how, hang on. For some reason, my phone is lagging really badly. I think that might be why. Oh, it's really hot. That's probably why. Okay, I have returned. That should fix it now. Right. Back to what I was saying. Experiment. Windows doesn't expose the number of clock cycles per quantum through any function. However, with the calculation and description we've given, you should be able to determine this on your own using the following steps and kernel debugger and with local debugging mode. Obtaining your processor frequency as Windows has detected it. Okay. It's a lot of flips. Thankfully, nothing fell off. You can use the value stored in the PRCV megahertz info, which you can display with the !CPU info command. Here's a sample of a 4-processor system running at 2794 megahertz. Convert the number into hertz. That is the number of clock cycles that occur each second each second on our system. In this case, that will be 2 billion? 2.794 billion cycles per second. Obtain the clock intervals on your system by using clock res. This measures how long it takes before the clock fires. On the sample used here, the interval was 15.625 milliseconds. Convert this number to the number of times a clock interval timer fires each second. Nice flip. 1 second equals 1000 milliseconds. So divide the number derived in step 3 by 1000. In this case, the timer fires every 0.015625 seconds. We've been flipping a lot. Multiply the count by the number of cycles each second you obtained in step 2. In this case, 43,656,250 cycles have elapsed after each clock interval. Remember that each quantum unit is 1/3 of a clock interval, so divide the number by cycles by 3. This should give you 14,528,083 or 0xDE 0C13 in hex. Is the number of clock cycles each quantum unit should take on a system running at 2794 MHz with a clock interval of around 15.6 milliseconds. To verify your calculation, dump the value of Ki cycles per quantum on your system. It should match or be close enough because of rounding errors. You can do that with DT and the exclamation mark. And Ki cycles per clock quantum. I'm not really sure what L1 stands for, but L1. Controlling the quantum. You can change the thread quantums for all processes, but you can choose only one of 2 settings. Short, 2 clock ticks, which is the default for client machines, or long, 12 clock ticks, which is the default for server systems. That is one huge rock. Note, by using the job object on the system running with long quantums, you can select other quantum values for the process in the job. Hello, new person YouTube chat. Welcome. To change the settings, right-click on this PC icon on the desktop, alternatively in Windows, in Explorer, select Properties, click on Advanced System Settings label, click on Advanced tab, click Settings in the Performance section, in another Advanced tab. Figure 4-10 shows the resulting dialog box. By the way, you can do the same thing with just typing Advanced System Properties in the Run command. I think that's an MSC that aliases to something. I'm not sure. Either way, you can just do that instead of having to click through all that to get there. As you can see, it is in that Advanced tab where you change the page size, basically. Where's the road? There it is. Figure 4-10, quantum configuration in the performance options dialog box. This dialog box contains 2 key options. Programs. The setting designates the use of short variable quantums, which is the default for client versions of Windows and other client-like versions such as mobile, Xbox, HoloLens, and so on. I just started using Miku NT for a few weeks. Can you get some advice? So the thing with Miku NT, right? Well, first of all, you make sure you play around with the parameters. So now, of course, the thing with NT is that your mileage may vary in terms of how much you can actually do with it. Like I said, play around with the parameters so you can actually have like a good baseline voice. After that, of course, you could do some tuning on your own. Now, if you're not sure how you should go about dealing with tuning, I think it would be nice to have a reference vocal for you to compare against. Now, ideally, you'd use this with a real vocal, so you can take a look at how the vocal characteristics look under a spectrogram. But if not, you can also take another Vocaloid from a producer you really like, isolate out the vocal, and compare the spectrogram to see how they do their tuning and try to mimic what they're doing. There are many ways you can go about doing that. You can use, depending on your DAW, I personally use FL. So the way I would do is I have 2 instances of Wave Candy, one on the original vocal track and one on my voice bank, and then I just play around with the tuning and see if it lines up. Now after that, like beyond just tuning and playing around with the parameters, you might also want to consider playing around with the different vocal plugins, so that way you can get the voice that really sounds that really stands out from the rest. Play around with compressor, play around with EQ, play around with reverb, etc., etc. There's a lot you can do. Now, personally, I don't really main NT. That's the main problem here. I've only used NT like for 2 covers, I think. Like I have Miku NT2, I have Lin and Len NT. The problem is they never sound good enough for me to actually want to use. Okay, so it's less about how they sound. It's more so PR Pro Studio is kind of garbage. That's another thing you're gonna have to get used to. PR Pro Studio is not the best vocal synth development environment you can use. Quote unquote development environment. You know what I mean? Like, it's like DAW, but not quite. If you could, I would also experiment with SV Lite, SymV. You could take a look at how it produces each of the notes. You could take a look at how it tunes itself. If you have SymV, you might also be able to get away with copying the tuning results from there and copying it over to and then re-exporting it back to PR Pro Studio using UFO Matrix. Utah Matrix. Yeah, Utah for Matrix. But yeah, aside from that, that's about all of the general advice I could really give. If you want to have a more lifelike vocal, you might also want to like try to automate each of the attributes as well as they're singing. But yeah, as for how you can go about, make it sound good, it really depends on the song. I can't really give you a solid advice on what to do. until I actually listen to the work itself. If you want more advice, you can go to the Vocaloid Discord. They have a voice synth production channel. Now, whether or not you're gonna get actual solid advice out there, it depends on time of day, because most of the time you'll see a lot of people just sit around chatting and or sending their own feedback. Sending their own work in progress. But I would try to go around there and ask for general questions, I guess. Yeah, that's all. Okay, back to reading. If you install terminal services on server system and configure the server as an application server, setting is selected so that users on the terminal server have the same quantum settings that would normally be set on a desktop or client system. I thought, oh wait, that's a shadow. Okay, take a nap. When I go to find some work to copy, saw your work of Amico and T, love it. Thank you. So I think the majority of the work that I did with Miku and T was with... I think I did like one cover with Miku and T, with another one with Miku and T 2. These days I tend to use Teto the most. I stopped posting the... by the way, in case you haven't noticed, this is my main channel. I've moved over my cover stuff to the cover channel now. So the one you're looking at doesn't have any new uploads anymore for covers because I moved it over to another channel. So if you're more interested in more modern, up-to-date content that I have for covers, it would be on the other channel at Azakasekai P. Suppose I could put in chat real quick. If you're interested, feel free to take a look. But yeah, these days I tend to use SimV more than stock Vocaloid, mainly because PI Pro Studio is... I don't really like PI Pro Studio. I'm an advocate hater of PI Pro Studio. It's just not great to use. I use SimV the most these days. Speaking of SimV, actually, I haven't really figured out what I'm gonna do for Teto V2 SV2 just yet. She's coming out in about 2 weeks. I thought about transitioning existing objects over, existing covers, current existing work in progress covers, porting it over to SV2, but I'm not sure yet. We'll see how it goes. I mean, as it stands, I have like 5 covers that haven't released. Because 2 of them are still pending MV production. By the way, I actually really like the work that I just put out in Wolf Waddle 1. I really liked how the vocoder sound panned out. Also, I edited the MV for that one. This is a lot of work, but I'll be honest, typography is like really annoying to do. I think I still struggle with that the most, but I think it turned out better than the previous MV that I did. But these days I still try to leave it up to my MV producers as opposed to doing it myself these days, because they do a better job than I do. Hi, Pink Girl. Hello. In the chat. Welcome. Right. Let me get back to reading. Once I get down this hill. Background services. The setting designates the use of long fixed quantums, the default for server systems. Wait. So what is this? Oh, so that's what these two. Oh, I never realized what this did. Oh, okay. Okay, so background services. This setting designates the use of long fixed quantums, the default for server systems. The only reason you might want to select this option on a workstation system is if you are using a workstation as a server system. However, because changes in this option takes effect immediately, it might make sense to use it if the machine is about to run a background or server style workload. For example, if a long-running computation, encoding, or modeling simulation you might need to run overnight, you could select in the background services options at night and return to the system to programs mode in the morning. There's nearly nobody in my country that use MikuNT, so we're not groping in the dark. I usually go around, find some work of amazing guys, feel how they put the note in the studio, but still not know how to drop pitch. So, I mean, it's always going to be a struggle, like, no matter which Vocaloid software you use. That's a universal struggle for all Vocaloid producers that are using the standard Vocaloids voice bank outside of, something like VoiceOna or SimV or things like that, where automatic pitching is not a thing. So, and that said, if you have NT2, you should have automatic tuning available to you. Now that said, I don't really think it's good enough yet. Right now, as it stands, Miku NT2's automatic tuning is still not great. But it gives you a baseline to work with. If you're new to using Vocaloid in general, I have NT2 with just free trial. Yeah, I would just... So, if you're unsure what to do about tuning, like I said earlier, what I would advise you doing is fire up a spectrogram viewer and see how certain vocals look and sound. I think I can do a quick demo real quick. Let me fire up FL real quick. Okay, I'm using FL ACL. Give me a second. So if I get rid of this for now. Let me do a desktop capture. Display capture. There we go. Okay. Here we go. So let me do a quick demo of how I would go about approaching this if I were you. So let me add a new Piano Pro Studio NT2 instance. Also, I'm gonna load up a audio file. Give me a second. Maybe this one. Okay. So let me move this over. What's the BPM for this song? It's been a while. I know you guys can't see anything. Just give me a second. This has now turned into a Vocaloid advice stream. Give me a second. So this is BPM 147. Okay. $147. Okay. So if I grab this over, okay, let's see if you can hear it. Okay, you guys can't hear this. Give me a second. Capture audio. Actually, can I do this? Okay, I can. Okay. So, if you're just starting off, you want to learn how to go about learning how you're supposed to do the pitches. Depending on the DAW you're using, I personally use FL for all my stuff. So I will load up a instance of Wave Candy. Make this bigger for you guys so you guys can actually see. And then you can switch over to the spectrum view. Same thing. And then you'll be able to see the exact representation of it. I personally have a preset made for it. Can also have it on top, I think. Okay, and if for example, you want to figure out how a realistic vocal would sound, you would take some of the vocals you might have and just using it as a reference and then start doing your drawing of pitch. Now, obviously, I really don't feel like doing this right now in real time with Miku, but let's suppose I did. Let's see. I will load up my existing project real quick. I don't know how well this is going to work on stream because OBS eats up a lot of performance when I do this, so it might not look or sound great. But I have an existing project of this song being covered. Might as well change the title. Sorry. Game set music. There we go. That way the VOD watcher won't be confused. Okay, so I'm just gonna do. There's a lot of plugins running. I'm gonna disable some of these. Disable all of these because otherwise it's gonna run like crap. The DAW looks really complicated. It's fine. Like, I only use FL as a demonstration because I'm used to it. But if you don't have FL, that's also fine. You can also just fire up things like spec to get like a spectrogram view. But let's say, for instance, let's load up a instance of Pro Studio NT2. I'm also going to change the stream title real quick. Okay. So if I open up, where's NT2? Where'd it go? Not you. You. Yes, you. Okay. So which DAW you use? I use FL. I never think about using DAW because I feel like Miku NT is very complicated. I can't really use all of it yet. That's fine. A lot of people use DAWs and Miku, Vocaloid software separately. That's fine because like that way you can concentrate on just working on the vocal. Personally, I use it as VSTI inside of DAW. That way I can get like a real time preview without having to switch around. Oh, right. That's probably mute these things real quick. Hello, person in YouTube chat. Another person in YouTube chat. Welcome. This has turned into a quick Vocaloid tutorial. So let's say, for example, you want to do this part and you want to figure out how the vocal sounds. As mentioned, you can bring up a Wave Candy instance to look at the spectrogram. You'll notice that whenever you listen to these vocals, as you pay attention to each of the notes that's being sung, you'll notice that depending on the singing style and whatever is going on with the beat, there's almost never when someone is singing, there's almost the note is never just flat. So even as you see this part, right, it's not like just on E4. It's like it goes up and down a little bit of like a vibrato looking situation. Right? And you can try to mimic the same thing, but I wouldn't go as far as like make it so drastic that it sounds weird. Let me change the tempo of voice 7. There we go. I don't have the lyrics pulled up, so I will just copy the ones that I had from Teto. I'll move this over to my other monitor. Where am I? You'll also notice that, for example, if you're using SimV, you'll see that, hey, SV already does an automatic tuning, and you can, if you have a copy of SV Lite, I don't know what the free trial equivalent is, but I'm pretty sure you can do some amount of editing in SV. You can take a look at how it does automatic tuning. A lot of times it's actually decent enough for you to like get a baseline, and then you go after that and just start doing the actual tuning itself. Now, of course, we're dealing with Vocaloid here, so we gotta fire up our copy of that here. Where are we? Where's the playhead? Right here. Hello, Sloan. We are just doing a quick tutorial for the guy on YouTube. Right, so I already have, I'm using this as a cheat sheet because I already did this before. What's the shortcut button for it? Alt 2, right. Turn on snapping so I can actually see how long the note is. Another thing, like a general tip for you is that when someone is singing, they're almost never on beat, as in like, you know, when we're making music, you might think, oh, each of the notes should go in a grid, right? Like when we have snapping turned on, we have, for example, I've set to 1/8. You might think, oh, I should always have the snapping enabled so that it make sure that the note is always on beat. That's not always the case that you want to do with vocals, because when someone is singing, they're not a robot, so they're almost never like perfect in their timing. So what we can actually do is I would actually advise sometimes turning off snapping. That way the transition between notes is a little bit more seamless. Now, obviously, you don't want it to be too offbeat, because that would be very obvious. And I do ha. Sorry. Ha. E. Oop. I want to do like here. That's definitely way too high. A little lower. What's the button? Where are you? What's the button to transport? Transport. Nope. Note. Oh, wait, which is it? Sorry, I haven't used NT in a while. Edit? I just want to move an octave down. Come on. Give me the thing. Transpose. One octave down. Control D for some reason. Okay. So it's more like. Oop. I don't really like the keybind in PR Pro Studio. It's not great. Okay. Okay. It's more like this. High. And then your law. Kong. Hai yoro kong de. Okay. Now if we play this again. Okay, so now what you can do is you can compare the spectrogram and then start tuning so that it would look very similar to the output here. So we know it starts from C#5. Or does it? Should start from F# actually. Oh, the reason why you might sometimes see multiple notes because this has a harmony in the background. It's like multiple vocals in the background actually. But as you can kind of faintly see here, there is an F# line here. So you can start drawing your pitches. Depending on the note, sometimes it'll start like higher. You might want to experiment at the beginning of the note and make it higher like this. Now, obviously, it wouldn't always sound great in this particular instance. I don't think it'll work, but sometimes it'll like make it exaggerate a little bit more. And it also depends on like the exact syllable that's being pronounced. Sometimes it'll like start high, sometimes it'll like start very low, sometimes it'll start like below. So once again, it's a lot of experimentation. So C, D, E, so there'll be E. Now that's one way to do it. You can also go about using the automatic tuning that's new. Sorry, automatic control, whatever they're called. This I found to have very limited success. I almost never like the way it sounds by default, but you can play around with it. So you've got the musical style, singing, nuance, and vibrato type. Would try to play around with it a little bit more. For example, if I set to neutral, one nice thing it does is that it changes the some of the note types. So as you can see at the beginning of each note, there's this little square here. If you double click on it, where'd it go? All right, you can actually see like note settings. This would affect how the note is being spoken. There should be an I after that. Can do a. You can take a look at the pitch here as well. I think the vibrato was actually a little too strong here. So you can just do some like this. Now, if we try this at a more aggressive setting, as you can see, it didn't really change anything. That's because I already drew the pitch there. I think it won't override the things I've already done. So if I delete or reset the pitches here, calm down. If I go in here, I think I can. Oh yeah, the blue line is the automatic pitch curve. The red ones are the ones you drew. And you can use the select tool and then just select it all and then delete it, and it'll be back to auto. See that I don't like that. And to be fair, it doesn't have the context of the original song, so it doesn't know whether or not this vibrato should be a thing. So that's why I also think if I delete this, if I change it to more neutral, it's a lot less exaggerated. Might also want to do like aggressive. I wouldn't say no vibrato. See, it still sounds a little bit flat, so I don't like the way automatic tune does it. Automatic control does it, but it can still allow you to do the it can automatically choose the note type at the very least. My Manku sings kind of laggy between note to note, so it really depends on what you mean by laggy there, like actually stuttering, or if it's like the timing is off. If the timing is off, then it's more or less a matter of just trying to fit the singing to the actual vocal waveform. That's one way to, if you want to go about adjusting the timing. But aside from that, if you mean like actually sounding laggy, they might also want to adjust the preferences as well, so that when you're composing, would double check to see if you're using if you're using the standalone version. I would go into the settings and change audio to use ACO. Always use ACO when you're trying to compose. Not real lag, just like not smooth. So I think that would be down to the timing then. So you want to experiment with the timing a little bit between each notes. Read word to word. Yeah. That would be basically down to the timing. If you have a DAW, if you're doing this all in the standalone program, then you can pretty much just like look at the waveform. Like for example, if I drag this vocal in here. Oh wait. I need to zoom out, pop this over, try this again. Yeah, you can also just like try to manage the double match the notes to see if it matches with the waveform. Now, if you're using a DAW, this will be a little bit easier. You can just go in here and then just like zoom all the way in. And whenever there's a different vowel or consonant being pronounced, you can visually see the changes between the consonants. Like, for example, I know this is going to be ha, right? Just by looking at it. If I mute Miku real quick. Mute both of these tracks. So this is like ha. This is like E. No, wait, hang on. Yeah. You can see which part of the consonant just by how, like, the way the waveform is being presented. Like, I know there's probably going to be a transition between the notes here. There's going to be a transition of notes between here, just based on, because, with one single consonant or vowel, like, it's going to look very consistent across the note. But as you can see, there's a sudden change here. There's a sudden change here. So this is E. This is the beginning of ha. This is yo. Hardest part of like yo. The Y sound is all. Law. Right? Once again, having a DAW would make your life a little bit easier, in my opinion. I used to do everything in the standalone version, but I ended up thinking it's actually not the the easiest thing in the world. It make you sings very smooth. It's just like singing. Yeah, it's once again, it's a lot of different things you gotta get right. You gotta get the timing right. You gotta get the pitch slides between notes right. So once again, if you're just starting off, I would just recommend looking at spectrogram and then trying to mimic how the original sounded. If you're working on a cover, that is. If you're not working on a cover, you're working on an original song, then you might want to have like a vocal reference, just like have someone else sing it. That's one way to go about it. But of course, if you're working on original work, you might also want to have some creative liberty of how each note sounds. If I'm working on something that already has automatic tuning, like SimV does, then I'll usually go about just like manually adjusting the pitch after the fact. I don't have much of this is not a good example because there's not much of manual tuning here, but as you can see, sorry, it's not in the screen. As you can see, I do occasionally make the manual adjustment here. That and SimV also has quite a few extra nice things, like you can change the vibrato length and whatnot. This is SimV1, by the way. SimV2 is slightly different. You can change the vibrato modulation here, things like that. Then, you know, the automatic tuning might not always be great, so you want sometimes I'll usually have something else that changes how the way the note is being sung, like if I don't have these, then it's gonna sound very different, right? Because the way it's being sung is actually it goes down and up again, down and up again, etc., etc. Like especially is in this song where it's like the vocals are super dynamic. It just jumps around a lot. But yeah, I think that's a quick rundown. I'm not sure if that helps you, but that's just how I do things. Yeah, I think that's the general advice I can give for newcomers. Now, granted, I'm not sure. This is not like the definitive way of doing things. I'm sure there are better ways of doing this, but after a while, you just start to notice that there's a pattern between how each of a note is sung by a real person. For example, a lot of times you actually see these little spike at the beginning of some of the notes here. And sometimes I think adding the little spike there gives off extra energy as opposed to not having any. Like for example, if I play this part again, and if I remove these, for instance, having it back. I'm sorry, hang on. Like as you can see, it feels more energetic that way. So yeah, just experiment around, see what drawing the line would be like, and even if it's just like a tiny differences between the original suggested note suggested by PR Pro Studio, even just a tiny change, it'll be like a lot less dead, quote unquote, like not as flat, because you know the way PR Pro Studio draws it by default is like every note is like almost flat, not quite, but like very flat. Even just like a tiny bit of it would help. Anyways, I think that'll be all. If you have more things, general advice you want to ask, once again, head on over to the Vocaloid Discord. I'm sure a lot of people would give you advice. If not, try asking again, because that channel is not always active. And it's a lot of times people just working on their own thing. I won't be saving this, thank you. Let me turn display capture off. Okay. Back to, ow. Give me a second. Back to the game. No, I don't want to save this, thank you. Sip. Okay. Game set. The long drive. Okay, back to reading, guys. And so Pawn's music. Right. So I wonder if actually changing it from program to background services would help. Things like I do have occasional, like every time I end the stream, I run a very long FFmpeg transcode session. I wonder if that will help. Well, that's kind of weird because like it affects everything that's running, so I don't know if I like the idea of that. Variable quantums. When variable quantums are enabled, the variable quantum table, PSP variable quantums, which holds an array of 6 quantum numbers, is loaded into the PSP foreground quantum table, a 3-element array that is used by the PSP compute quantum function. This algorithm will pick the appropriate quantum index based on whether the process is a foreground process, that is, whether it contains a thread that owns the foreground window on the desktop. If that is not the case, an index of 0 is chosen, which corresponds with the default thread quantum described earlier. If it's a foreground process, the quantum index corresponds to a priority subversion. So there is, so I guess there is, I guess windows that are running in the foreground really do take priority, because I always thought it was myth. Thank you, that's a lot to me. You're welcome, and I wish you luck with the tuning. Have fun. If you're, by the way, if you're having trouble with tuning, I would recommend, like, if you get frustrated from tuning, I would recommend stepping away from tuning for a little bit and then come back to it later. Because a lot of times you'll run into, like, I've run into this before, where after a long tuning session, you're just like, okay, this isn't working out. This sucks. I can't do it anymore. Just come back to it later, because you'll notice that with anything audio related, mastering, mixing, tuning, etc., your ears are gonna get fatigued after a while. So sometimes it might not even be accurate the longer you do it. Like, I would recommend limiting the your audio session to like 2 to 3 hours. Any longer than that, you might start to get fatigued, and that aside from just that, you know, you'll grow frustrated as well. You don't want to be in the state of frustration when working at the same time, because you'll notice that it drags down your productivity and you might not enjoy it as much. So just come back to it later as well. Because, like, when I was working on the Emptiness and Catharsis cover, I hit the wall so many times where it's just like, okay, this doesn't sound good. What do? I just kept comparing the what I had versus what was in the original. I was just like, this sucks. I genuinely got depressed out of it. Like, that entire month was hell. Not just because of the frustration, but also just like, I was getting really depressed. I was like, dude, I'll never get as close to original. That's also something else to keep in mind. You don't wanna fixate on getting it as close to as original as possible, when sometimes there are just things that are beyond your controls. Like, no matter how well you tune it, there's always there are always gonna be things that you can't replicate or replicate well, and I think that's okay. In certain productivity sessions, I was just like, I can't get it to sound as good as original. And eventually come to the conclusion that I was just like, you know what, that's okay. It is already a unique cover, and I think that's good enough. In many cases, as long as it doesn't sound awful, I think that's all you need, really. I've been working on covers for like 3+ years at this point, and I can still tell you, like, there's a lot of times I'm not 100% happy with the results, and I've learned to accept the fact that it's fine. Do as best as you can. If it works out, great. If not, see if you can make it better. If not, I think each cover, after you're done with it, it's still a learning journey on its own. Because, like, if I compare my work from now, from the latest one, to what I have now, it's 9-day difference between not only just like the actual cover itself, like the actual vocal itself, but like the mixing and tuning as well. Sorry, the mixing and mastering. And I was already pretty confident in my mixing ability from back then. But now I listen back, and I'm just like, okay, this sounds awful. So yeah, you'll almost never get it right the first time. I think that's okay. Do your best, and you might not like your first work. You might not like your second work. Hell, you might not even like your third work. That's okay. Just keep doing it, and it'll get better. You might not notice it right away because you might not immediately notice that you're improving. But trust me, your improvement is there. It's just very slowly adding up. As you get more and more used to it, you speed up your productivity workflow as well. Like in the earlier days, I think some of the covers would take me ages because I'd be stuck so long working on the mixing. Now I'm like, okay, I know roughly what to do for the vocals and know how to achieve certain things. Anyways, yeah. If you're still here, hope that was helpful, and good luck. Okay. This priority separation value determines the priority boost, describing in the upcoming section priority boosts that the scheduler will apply to foreground threads. It is thus paired with an appropriate extension of the quantum. Whoa, okay. For each extra priority, up to 2, another quantum is given to the thread. For example, if the thread receives a boost of 1 priority level, it receives an extra quantum as well. By default, Windows sets the maximum possible priority boost to foreground threads, meaning the priority separation will be 2, which means quantum index 2 is selected in the variable quantum table. This leads to the thread receiving 2 extra quantums, for a total of 3 quantums. Table 4-2 describes the exact quantum value. Recall that it is stored in a unit representing 1/3 of a clock tick. That will be selected based on the quantum index and which quantum configuration is in use. Can you tell this section is like going over my head? I have no idea what's going on anymore. At first, my Miku sang very terrible. Day after day, I can control her a little bit more and more. Now it's not perfect, but at least you can sing, yeah. Like if I compare I still think my earliest Teto cover is actually pretty good. But if I compare like my second one, I actually like this second one the first one over the second one still. If I compare the second one to what I have now, I'm like, okay, that sounds fine, but not great. Nowadays I'm like, okay, this sounds pretty good. I actually like what I do now. Wow. That's neat. And you'll know if you've improved as a tuner, as a vocal manipulist, manipulator, a mixer, a master, etc., etc., you'll know if you've improved if you actually really like what you have at the end. And always remember, don't compare. You're gonna use the original as a reference. That's fine, but don't go out of your way to compare the final results of what you have versus the original. I'm speaking this as behalf of. I'm speaking this as. I'm speaking this part as a cover artist, not as the original producer. But like, don't go out of your way to compare the two because you'll always notice that the original might sound better. And I still think that is the case for many of the songs I cover. The original will always sound better. But I think that doesn't really matter because what I have in the end is its own thing. And as long as that its own thing part sounds good to you, I think that's all really matters. I have a cover of Luna's Ignition. That's already been finished. The thing is, it's under MV production. But I really like how it ended up sounding. It's very different from the original. But I still really like the end result. I hope people like it too. I've noticed that the performance for the last three of my covers have actually been pretty bad. Except for the Wallfall one. I think the Wallfall one actually did fine. It's still under 1,000 views, but but these days I'm just like, you know what? I like it. That's fine. As much as I would like others to like it as well and share it, but I've learned to just tune out the numbers. I mean, that's the thing for many of the things I do as well. Like, yeah, I want to enjoy what I do. So I usually don't have the numbers show up anymore for many of the things. I have my U-block and other things that hide things like view count, overall reception, statistics, and whatnot. There's set to hidden. I think it really just helps with my mindset of how to go about making these things. A lot of times I'm making these things for myself, really. As much as I like others to appreciate it, but that's optional. And I think that's very important when it comes to longevity, what you're doing. A completely unrelated tangent. Sorry, I know we haven't been reading, but we might as well talk about these things while we're here. Not you. There you go. Man, this game is lagging like crazy. Right. So I have copies of Lin and Len and T. I don't really like how they sound, but I might do a cover with them at some point. I'm definitely gonna do Teto SV2 first because that's coming up in 2 weeks. We'll see how those go because I've never used Lin and Len before, like not even their V4, V3, etc., etc. Oh, is that an engine? Milk, yes, very cool. Oh, it's the one with the rotating blade. We can try if this works later. Actually, before that, I need a restroom break. I'll be right back. Alright, I'm back. By the way, I forgot to respond to you. Sloan, hello. Thank you for the resub for 6 months. Having a good day. Oh. Is that a pumpkin? Wait. Ooh. Holy shit. It's a jack-o'-lantern. We're taking that with us. That... What the hell is that? Is that feet? Who's walking around out there? Oh, I see you. Get over here. Come on. Yeah. Bye-bye. I'm gonna take this with me. Alright, that's a lot of poop. Thanks. Okay, nothing usable out there. Ooh. Okay. Hat. Is that a radio? Yes. Don't need it, but thanks. We already have a radio.
Chicken jockey.
Hello, snowman. Have a good day. Ooh, more hat. Is that a bus? A minivan? Oh. Ooh. It's a little rusted. Ooh, that's a decent looking car actually. How's the Oh, hello. Goodbye. How's the fuel looking? Oh, I was expecting it to flip out from this way, but okay, sure. Not a whole lot of oil. Did you really just come straight out of this window? Sure. Check downstairs. Anything usable here? Nope. Anything here? Ooh, revolver ammo. There we go. I think there's more of them around here. There we go. We've got plenty of ammo anyways. It's fine. Okay, back to reading. Thus, when a window is brought into foreground on a client system, all the threads in the process containing the thread that owns the foreground window will have their quantums tripled. Threads in the foreground process run with a quantum of 6 clock ticks, whereas threads in the other processes has a default quantum of 2 clock ticks. And this way, actually didn't need to do that. And this way, when you switch away from a CPU-intensive process, the new foreground process will get proportionally more of the CPU. This is because when it's thread run, it will have longer turn than the background threads. Again, assuming the thread priorities are the same in both the foreground and background processes. Ooh. Okay. Are we taking this? I don't know if that's how you hold an AK, but sure. Ooh, that's a lot of headlights. We'll definitely be taking these. At least 2. Well, try to get as many as we can because we keep losing them. Quantum registry settings value quantum settings registry value. The user interface that controls quantum settings described earlier modifies the registry value when 32 priority separation in the key HLM system current control set control priority control. In addition to specifying the relative length of the thread quantum. Sorry, I'm just investigating this real quick. In addition to specifying the relative length of the thread quantum, short or long, the registry value also defines whether variable quantum should be used, as well as priority separation, which, as you've seen, will determine the quantum index. Will determine the quantum index used when variable quantums are enabled. This value consists of 6 bits divided into 3 2-bit field. Short versus long, variable versus fixed, and priority separation. What's a lot of gas? Don't think we'll need it, but sure. Why not? I dropped the... What? What happened to the magazine? Did I drop the magazine when I hit R? What? Where'd it go? Well, I mean, I suppose don't really need the AK anyways. Hello, Blank. Okay, this car is a little bit further than I would have liked. Maybe I should drive the car in. Okay, I'm gonna drop this here. Just so we know we gotta head that way. Ooh. Ow. Okay, it's really hard to drive when it's like running at 20 frames per second. Move. Thank you. you go. I'm actually running a little lower than I expected. That's good. So I don't know if this will run any better or worse. We're gonna take it anyways. With plenty of oil to spare, it's fine. Okay. Yeah, how do I... Where's the oil tank? Oh, there is. Is there any oil in here that we can use? I think that's milk. That's milk. That's a toilet. Didn't we have an oil tank somewhere? That's water. No, wait. Which one is this? That's gas. That's a refuel, I guess. Where's the oil tank that we had? This is oil? No, that's water. That's empty. Can we siphon from here? I guess not. Does this have oil? That's gas. Not very helpful, but pop that in there as well. Well, let's take a nap first. Do I have any gas around here? Sorry, oil. Okay, so I have an idea. Does that work? Holy shit, it does. Okay. Huh. Revolutionary. Amazing gameplay. Who would think you could do this? Granted, it's kind of wasteful, but not the most efficient thing. Okay, that should be enough for now. Oh. No. Well. Nope. Great. Well, we emptied that oil tank. Amazing. Well, that's fine. Go back in there. You two. That's our original engine. Hope they'll be fine. Oh. It might be better if we stop stuff in front. Okay, let's see how well this drives. If it doesn't work out, we can just reload the previous save. Actually, hang on. Seems to work pretty well. I feel like that's faster. Well, let's hope we can get to the next place of oil soon, because we only have 1 liter in this thing. Hello, person in Twitch chat. Good evening. Right, where were we? The fields shown in 4-11 can be defined as follows. As follows. Short versus long. A value of 1 specifies long quantum. A value of 2 specifies short ones. A setting of 0 or 3 indicates that the default appropriate for the system will be used. Short for client systems, long for server systems. Variable versus fixed. A value of 1 means to enable the variable quantum table based on the algorithm shown in the variables quantum section. A setting of 0 or 3 means the default for the appropriate for the system will be used. Variable for client system, fixed for server systems. So the reason why I think this engine works fine is because it has the propeller, not the propeller, the fan. I think that's what cools it down. The other engines that we tried didn't have that. That's why they didn't work. But this one should work because it doesn't rely on coolant. I think the other ones didn't work because they require coolants. Oh, this is so much faster. I think this engine is an upgrade. I think. I say that it stalls. Are you kidding me? Come on. You got this. Nope, we're reloading last save. God damn it. I'm glad I saved. Well. Damn. Putting the original engine back on then. Well, in you go. All right. Aren't I glad I saved? All right, priority separation. This field is stored in the kernel variable. PS priority separation defines the priority separation up to 2 as explained in the variable quantum section. When use the performance options dialog box, refer to figure 4-10, you can choose only between 2 combinations. A short quantum with foreground quantums tripled, or long quantums with no quantum changes for foreground threads. However, you can select other combinations by modifying the Win32 priority separation registry value directly. Why is it like jumping up and down? You okay? You okay, dude? Ooh, Okay. Did we lose anything? No, I think we're good. Threads are part of a process running in the idle process priority class. Always receive a single thread quantum, ignoring any sort of quantum configuration setting, whether set by default or set through registry. On Windows Server systems configured as application servers, the initial value of the Win32 priority separation registry will be hex 26, which is identical to the value set by the optimized performance for programs options in the performance options dialog box. This selects quantum and priority boost behavior. No. How much gas do we lose? Hang on. Did I not close? Oh shit! I didn't close that. Okay, that's not too bad. We only lost like a little bit. It's fine. We have plenty of oil left. I mean gas. How about the door? Where did the door go? Okay. Oh, come on. There we go. Right, where was I? This selects quantum and priority boost behavior like that on Windows client system, which is appropriate for a server used primarily to host users' applications. On Windows client systems and on servers not configured as application servers, the initial value of the Win32 priority separation registry setting will be 2. This provides values of 0 for short versus long, and variable versus fixed bit fields, relying on the default behavior of the system, depending on whether it is a client system or a server system. I don't know why it's stuttering like that. I don't know if it's the game. I'm gonna try to reload, see if that helps. Main menu. Load. No last. Oop. Thank you. Well, I think it's still doing it. Not sure why. Rely on the default behavior system depending on whether it is a client system or a server system for these options. However, it provides a value of 2 for priority separation field after a registry value has been changed via the performance options dialog box. It cannot be restored to this original value other than modifying the registry directly. I don't know why it's like jumping up and down like that. I can't tell if that's like a game stutter or if it's the car going up and down. Experiments. Effects of changing the quantum configuration. Using a local kernel debugger, you can see how the two quantum configuration settings, program and background services affect the PS priority separation and PSP foreground quantum tables, as well as modify the quantum reset values of the threads on the system. Take the following steps. Open advanced system settings again. Apply. Dump the values of PS priority separation and PSP foreground quantum, as shown here. The values shown are what you see, or what you should see on Windows system after making the changes in step 1 through 3. Notice how the variable short quantum table is being used, and that priority boost of 2 will apply to foreground applications. And yep, you do DT NT exclamation mark PS priority separation to show the value. I wonder, does DT stand for like data dump or something? Look at the quantum reset value of any process on the system. As noted, this is the default full quantum of each thread on the system when it is replenished. The value is cached into each thread of the process, but the K process structure is easier to look at. Notice that in this case it is 6 because WinDebug, like most other applications, Getzo. You're good? We lost like 3 of our wheels from that. No, I want to get out. No. Not the snow. Get out of here. Well, a lot of parts flew off. Okay, there's a door, there's a hood. Okay, all 3 wheels are in the same place, thankfully. They could have been worse. They could have flown off into their own separate directions. Wait, where'd it go? What? What? I pressed F to install it, but it didn't go on. Well, time to reload the last save. Well, when was the last save? Where was the last save? Where is the last save? No, that's the very first save. This one, right? Well, let's try that again. Because WinDebug, like most other applications, gets the quantum set in the first entry of the PSP foreground quantum table. Change it again to background services, and you'll see that the values change, consistent with our previous discussion in this section. Now I kind of want the now chat. I'm now craving like 2 slices of Pizza Hut pizza. That would be nice. I feel like a regular pizza would be too big for me. Like a personal size serving would be nice. Also, that was a very nice flip with nothing missing. Priority boost. The Windows scheduler periodically adjusts the current or dynamic priority of threads through an internal priority boosting mechanism. In many cases, it does so to decrease various latencies, that is, to make threads respond faster to the events they're waiting on, and increase responsiveness. In others, it applies these boosts to prevent inversion and starvation scenarios. Here are some of the boost scenarios that will be described in this section, and their purpose. Boost due to scheduler or dispatcher events, latency reduction. Boost due to I/O completion, also latency reduction. Boost due to user interface input, latency reduction and responsiveness. Boost due to a thread waiting on executive resource, e-resource for too long, starvation avoidance. Boost when the thread that is ready to run hasn't been running for some time, starvation and priority inversion avoidance. Like any scheduling algorithms, however, these adjustments aren't perfect and they might not benefit all applications. We gotta be very careful here when going downhill. Okay, we survived that. Note, Windows never boosts the priority of threads in the real-time range, 16 through 31. Therefore, scheduling is always predictable with respect to other threads in this range. Okay. Okay, all of our headlights are intact. That's good. Could have been worse. Windows assumes that if you're using real-time threads priorities, you know what you're doing. Well, until the user sets the thread to real-time, then it's outside of the quote-unquote you know what you're doing range. The user might not know what's going on. Client versions of Windows also includes a pseudo-boosting mechanism that occurs during multimedia playback. Unlike other priority boosts, multimedia playback boosts are managed by a kernel mode driver called multimedia... Okay. Could've been worse. Don't think I didn't see you there, buddy. A kernel mode driver called Multimedia Class Scheduler Service, or MMCSS, that is wise. They're not really boosts, however. The driver merely sets new priorities for the threads as needed. Therefore, none of the rules regarding boosts apply. Well, first cover the typical kernel managed priority boosts. Okay. That could have been really bad. And then talk about MMCSS and the kind of quote-unquote boosting it performs. Boost due to scheduler or dispatcher events. Okay. Could have been worse. It's really hard to drive. I gotta read text on screen. Right. Boost due to scheduler or dispatcher events. Whenever a dispatch event occurs, the KI exit dispatcher routine is called. Its job is to process the deferred ready list by calling KI thread rate list, and then call KZ check for thread dispatch to check whether any threads on the current processor should not be scheduled. Whether such an event occurs, the caller can also specify which type of boost should be applied to the thread, as well as what priority increment the boost should be associated with. The following... What the hell? Why are there... I've never seen this happen before. Okay. Interesting. Sure. Whether such an event occurs... Whenever such an event occurs, the caller can also specify which type of boost should be applied to the thread, as well as what priority increment that left. As well as what priority increment the boost should be associated with. The following scenarios are considered as adjust and wait dispatch events because they deal with a dispatcher synchronization object entering a signal state, which might cause one or more threads to wake up. Sorry, I just heard something outside. Not sure what that was. Which might cause one or more threads to wake up. First of all, and... Ooh, okay. Well, that's a... truck? I don't know what you're supposed to call this. A tank trailer? Nope. No, that's... No, not... Not what I meant. There we go. No. Fuck. Off. Thank you. That's a wheel. We have a wheel that needs replacing. This wheel looks kind of dirty, I guess. Sure. I don't know if that makes any difference, but sure. Gas. Nothing inside. Gas, oil, milk. What is that? That's a license plate. Hello, blank. Zip. Ooh, almost tipped it over. Guess we're now ONT. Is the TITS not making any sound today for you guys? Because if so, I might need to restart the thing. I know why, because I think the audio device for it might have been taken off. Let me know if you guys couldn't hear the throwing sounds. Okay, there we go. Great. An asynchronous procedure call APC described in Chapter 6 and more detail in Chapter 8, Part 2. Is queued to a thread. The event is set or paused, or a timer is set, or the system time is changed, and timers have to be reset. A mutex was released or abandoned, a process exited, and or a door has fallen off. Or the headlight is falling off. Oh, come on. Get on there. What? Get on. Thank you. On. On. What? 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 Hello? Is the game screwing with me right now? Where'd it go? Okay. Whatever, dude. Sorry, excuse me. An entry was inserted into the queue. This is just the KQ class, where the queue was flashed. Or the queue was flushed. A semaphore was released. A thread was alerted, suspended, resumed, frozen, or thawed. A primary user mode something thread is waiting to switch to a scheduled UMS thread. For scheduling events associated with a public API such as set event, the boost increment applied as specified by the caller. Windows recommends certain values to be used by developers, which will be described later. Okay, that's big wall. Could have died there. I see your problem. The wheel fell off. So true. Thank you for the input there. It just did that on its own. It sure did. Okay. I'm gonna wrap around. That is one long wall. Holy. For alerts, a boost of 2 is applied unless the thread is put in an alert wait by calling kalert thread by thread ID, in which case the case applied to boost is 1. Because the alert API does not have a parameter allowing the caller to set a custom increment. Coyote ass fake road into a wall. So true. They ran into it head on. At least I didn't die from that. The scheduler also has 2 special adjust boost dispatch events, which are part of a lock ownership priority mechanism. These boosts attempt to fix situations in which a caller owns the lock at priority X ends up releasing the lock to waiting third party at below or not equal X. You know, come to think of it, maybe I shouldn't have driven up here. Because I don't think I'll be able to get down. Maybe, don't do that. Wrap around. Okay. Yep. Nice spin. Okay. Yep. Thank you. Didn't something else fall off? Right, the window, the door. Okay. Oh. Um. Come on. You got this. Come on. Oh, no, nope, nope. Nope, no, no. No, no, oh, 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 oh. Come on. Oh, nope. Not what I meant. Okay. Come on. You got this. Come on. Maybe the other way around? Maybe. Nope. Nope, nope. Reload. How long ago was that? Here? Okay. And thank you for the autosave. Also, my headlights are gone. Again. For the billionth time. Okay, let me get back on the road first before we continue reading. Otherwise, we're gonna be here for a while. Okay, 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 cool. I mean, that's not horrible, I think. It's just 2 doors and... Where'd the wheel go? Okay, there it is. Oh, we're fine. Granted, I'm not entirely sure which direction we're going anymore. Hope we'll be fine. Oh. Hold handbrake. Yep. Come on. Well, let's hope going straight is the right direction, because I generally don't know. I lost track. Like that thing go, okay, so it goes that way. What about this way? No, that just goes to the mountain again. What about this way? Surely this is right. Surely. This means that releasing thread continues its execution, even though it should have caused the new owner thread to wake up and take control of the processor. The following two dispatcher events cause an adjust boost dispatcher exit. The event is... Where'd our back go? Well, that was long. That was long-lived. We lasted about 2 hours of stream with our rear trunk intact, rear trunk hood, alongside the headlight. Because they're both gone again. God damn it. An event is set through the KE event set event boost priority interface, which is used by the e-resource reader writer kernel lock. A gate is set through the KE signal gates interface, which is used by various internal mechanisms when releasing a gate lock. Unwait boost. Unwait boost attempts to decrease latency between a thread waking up due to an object being signaled, thus entering the ready state, and thread actually beginning its execution to process the unwait, thus entering the running state. Generally speaking, it is desirable that a thread that wakes up from a waiting state would be able to run as soon as possible. Can it stop going up and down like that? The various Windows header specified recommended values that a kernel mode caller of APIs such as k-release mutex, k-set event, k-release semaphore should use, which correspond to definitions such as mutant increment and our front trunk hood being popped off. You know, what happened to the backup headlights that we grabbed? Did I not grab any? I don't see any in here. I thought I did. Well, I might be stupid. Okay. Which correspond to definitions such as mutant increment, semaphore increment, and event increment. These three definitions have always been set to 1 in the headers, so it's safe to assume that most unwaits on these objects will result in a boost of 1. In user mode API, an increment cannot be specified, nor do the native system calls such as anti-set event have parameters to specify such boost. Instead, when these APIs call the underlying K interface, they automatically use the default underscore increment definition. That is also the case when mutexes are abandoned or timers are reset due to a system time change. The system uses the default boost that normally would have been applied when the mutex would have been released. Finally, the APC boost is completely up to the caller. Soon you'll see a specific usage of the APC boost related to the IO completion. Note, some dispatcher objects won't have boost. Some dispatcher objects don't have boosts associated for them. For example, when the timer is set or expires, or when the process is signal, no boost is applied. What is that up there? Is there another building? All the boosts of one attempt to all these boosts of one Attempt to solve the initial problem by assuming that both the releasing and waiting threads are running at the same priority. By boosting the waiting thread by one priority level, the waiting thread should preempt the releasing thread as soon as the operation completes. Unfortunately, on unit processor systems, if the assumption does not hold, the boost might not do much. For example, if the waiting thread at priority 4 and the releasing thread is at priority 8, waiting at the priority 5 won't do much to reduce latency and force preemption. On multiprocessor system, however, due to the stealing and the balancing algorithms, the higher priority thread may have a better chance of getting picked up by another logical processor. Okay. Time to go into the mansion again, guys. Where is he?
You cannot escape me, and you will
Hello?
never be free.
Is that what is that? Is that a couch? Hello? Goodbye. That was a giant slab of meat for a bit. But no, that's a couch. A very dry looking couch. Wait, do I not have anything on my... Yeah, my first and second hand are empty. I have no idea what this is, but sure. A bike. Cool. Ooh. And these bathrooms are like super empty. Hello. Bye-bye. Ooh, is that another revolver? It has 6 bullets. Okay, we've got TV, we've got biscuits. Y'all got any revolver rounds around here? No more cleaning agent. That rock? It's a huge rock. Why is the skeleton giving a back shot? Alright. Oh, hello. Bye-bye. Oil. Could use with the oil. Could do with the oil, actually. I know we're kind of wasting bullets, but we're fine. Might as well use them, right? Too bad we're not getting much out of them. Oh. My hands. Now this box has hands. Literally. Alright, let's go reload the revolver real quick. Oh no, wait, this also has 0 bullets. Okay. Let's check the basement. Nope, not here. I'm getting tired a little bit. But it's only been 3 hours. Alright, come on, let me down there. Thank you. Cactus. Cool. That door. Don't know what that is. Sure. Whoa, Jesus. Freaking jump scared me. That's a lot of tires we're getting. Oh, we can't just like put it in our inventory. I mean, it's not like we need to change the tires really. Let's take a nap real quick. And then let's go reload our gun and get out of here. Oh, we didn't get much out of this mansion, unfortunately. So we don't need this oil right now, I think. Actually, you know what? Sure. Pop those in there. How much? Okay, yeah, we're fine on gas and oil. Tired. It's like 1 a.m. I slept for like 12 hours today. Like, I think I went to bed like 3 or 4 a.m. and I was really tired this entire week, and I just passed out shortly after that. A multiprocessor system, however, due to the stealing and balancing algorithms, the higher priority thread may have a better chance of getting picked up by another logical processor. This is due to the design made in the initial NT architecture, which is not track lock ownership except a few locks. This means the scheduler can't be sure who really owns the event and if it's really being used as a lock. Even with lock ownership tracking, however, even with lock ownership tracking, ownership is not usually passed to avoid convoy issues, other than in the executive resource case. Explained in the upcoming section. Okay. I wonder if the tires also affect the driftiness of the wheels of the vehicle. I'm just gonna take a shortcut here. Oh, okay. Well, so much for a shortcut. By the way, you may have noticed that there's been a lack of stream this week. And the 2 weeks before that. Yeah, I've been very busy at work. So I really haven't felt like streaming. That, and I was really tired at the end of the day. We still gotta do VOTV soon. So the reason why I haven't jumped on the VOTV right away is because I know there are still a few bugs that allegedly that still need to be fixed. The game hasn't seen an update since the update dropped. So I'm waiting for the hotfix update if there's one. Probably wait for another week or like another few days. Well, I was early enough to catch this stream. Yeah, so you usually do stream at like evening for the peeps at US for weekends. I.e. it'd be streaming for me in the morning. But I figured I might as well do a normal hour stream compared to weekdays. Your streams are usually 6 to 9 a.m. for me lately. I mean, that's always been the case. I've always been streaming for like at like 9 p.m. on weekdays. On weekends, it'd be the opposite. On weekend, it'd be 9 a.m. or 10 a.m. But you know, since I didn't wake up for 9 to 10 a.m. today, so I'm streaming at like 9 p.m. the usual time. My stream hours are usually not very American friendly because it's hard for me to stream at American friendly hours because like your 6 p.m. would be like my 6 a.m. I did try that before. I think the viewership is like better, the concurrent view count, but it's not worth it for me to get up at like 5 a.m. to stream or 6 or 7 because by the time it'd be like, okay, I gotta go to work. Oh, right, where was I? For certain kinds For certain kinds of lock objects, they use events or gates as their underlying synchronization object. The lock ownership boost resolves the dilemma. Also, a multiprocessor machine, the ready thread, might get picked up by another processor due to processor distribution and load balancing schemes you'll see later. And its high priority might increase the chance of it running on that secondary processor instead. Okay, I'm gonna gracefully deal with this part real quick before I continue reading. So anytime there's downhill, that's bad news for me in the car. Stop jumping up and down. Thank you. Okay, calm down. Lock ownership boost. Because the executive's resource, the e-resource, and critical section locks use the underlying dispatcher of objects, releasing these locks result in an unweighted boost, as described earlier. On the other hand, because the high-level implementation of these objects track the owner of the lock, the kernel can make more informed decision as to what kind of boost should be applied by using the adjust boost reason. In these kind of boosts, adjust increments is set to the current priority of the releasing or setting thread, minus any graphical interface GUI foreground separation boost. In addition, before the KI exit dispatcher function is called, KI remove boost thread is called by the event and gate code to return the releasing thread back to the regular priority. This step is needed to avoid a lock convoy situation in which two threads repeatedly passing a lock between one another get ever increasing boosts. Note, push locks, which are unfair locks because the ownership of the lock and the contended acquisition path is not predictable. Rather, it's random, like a spin lock. Do not apply priority boost due to the lock ownership. It's because doing so only contributes to preemption and priority proliferation, which isn't required because the lock becomes immediately free as soon as it is released, bypassing the normal wait or unwait path. It just occurred to me, I think Vito's stream is coming up in 2 hours. Hang on. Let me check the schedule. Yeah, it's coming up in 2 hours at the usual hours. And yours doing 3D debut. I don't know if I want to stream for another 2 hours though. Because I'm actually at my limit right now. It's like I've been doing a stream, talking for 3 hours. Which isn't required because the lock becomes immediately free as soon as it's released, bypassing the normal wait and unwait path. The differences between the lock ownership boost and the unwait boost will be exposed in the way the scheduler actually applies boosting, which is the subject of the next section. I'll be honest, this entire thread section is like way out of my head, way above my head. Like I have no idea what's going on, and so it feels like it's dragging on a little bit. Priority boosting after IO completion. Windows gives temporary priority boost upon the completion of certain IO operations so that threads that are waiting for an IO have more of a chance to run right away and process whatever was being waited for. Although you'll find recommended boost values in the Windows Driver Kit or WTK header files by searching for hash define IO underscore NWDM or NTDK-H. The actual value for the boost is up to the device driver. These values are listed in table 4-3. It is the device driver that specifies the boost when it completes an IO request on its call to the kernel function, IO complete request. In table 4-3, notice that the IO request to a device that warrant better responsiveness have higher boost values. So there's the disk, CD-ROM, parallel video for 1, network mail slot named pipe 0 at boost 2, keyboard mouse at 6, sound at 8. I guess sound, so what, like sound has a higher priority boost? You note that you might intuitively expect better responsiveness from your video card or disk than the boost of 1. However, the kernel is in fact trying to optimize for latency, to which some devices, as well as human sensory inputs, are more sensitive to than others. To give you an idea, its sound card expects data for around every 1 millisecond of playback. Around every 1 millisecond of playback music without perceptible glitches, while a video card needs to output only 24 frames per second, or about once every 40 milliseconds, before the human eye can notice any glitches. Yeah, I guess. I feel like this is close to the debate of human eyes can only see 24 frames per second. I know that's not what it's saying. It's saying like, you know, below that, then it becomes really noticeable. But like, you know, it could be faster. But I suppose it's not like 1 millisecond fast. I don't understand what it's saying though. It's saying that it doesn't need to do that at like 1 millisecond. 40 milliseconds more like it. Just a weird sentence to read as soon as the 24 frames thing is brought up. But yeah, I know what it's saying. As hinted earlier, these IO completion boosts rely on the unwait boosts seen in the previous section. Chapter 6 shows the mechanism of IO completion in depth. For now, the important detail is that the kernel implements the signaling code in the IO complete request API through the use of either an APC for an asynchronous IO or through an event for synchronous IO. When a driver passes in, for example, IO disk increment to IO complete request for an asynchronous disk read, the kernel calls okay, we could have died there. K insert Q APC with a boost parameter set to IO disk increment. And in turn, when the thread's weight is broken due to APC, it receives a boost of 1. Okay. Beware that the boost value given in table 4-3 are merely recommendations by Microsoft. Driver developers are free to ignore them, and certain specialized drivers can use their own values. For example, a driver handling ultrasound data from a medical device, which must notify a user mode visualization application of new data, would probably use the boost of value of 8 as well, to satisfy the same latency as a sound card. In most cases, however, due to the way Windows driver stacks are built, again see chapter 6 for more information, driver developers write mini drivers, which call into a Microsoft-owned driver that supplies its own boost to IO complete request. For example, RAID or SATA controller card developers typically call storage port complete request to complete processing their requests. This call does not have any parameters for boost value because the storage port .ys driver fills in the right value when calling the kernel. Additionally, whenever any file system driver identified by setting the device type to file device disk file system or file device network file system completes its request, a boost of IO disk increment. Okay, come on, that's enough flips. Okay, dude, we get it. We get it. What the hell? Great. Thanks. Wow. Why do we even lose the wheel? That's a lot of flips. Okay, it might be easier to just reload, actually. Well, this is our last save. Oh, 15 minutes ago? Really? Okay. Hang on. I'm gonna try to fix this car first before trying to reload. Okay, so so the wheel came off alongside the... Okay, that's not too bad then. As long as the wheel is still there, then we're good. I probably should have brought the wheel back first. It's like the arrest is optional. Alright, let's nap first. A boost of IO disk increment is always applied if the driver passes in IO no increment instead. So this boost value has become less of a recommendation and more of a requirement enforced by the kernel. Okay, I just want to finish that chapter real quick. Okay, in you go. We're stuck. We are stuck. Nope. We are no longer stuck. Alright, where did I put the door? It's like in between. There it is. How do people stream for like more than like 5 hours? Because I can't do that. Well, okay, maybe I can when I'm not reading. But still, I think 5 hours is like at my limit. 3 hours being the average. For like 5 hours, they have food delivered to them. Like, not even just like whether or not I'm hungry. It's more so like, you know, I don't have the stamina to talk for like 5 hours. I'd be like, okay, I want to walk around, want to take a break, look outside, touch grass for a little bit before coming back, which would take like 20 minutes. You did a couple of times. Well, which part? The resting part? Or like the streaming for more than 5 hours part? I've only done that like... I've only done a 7-hour stream for like twice. Actually, let me check. Okay, I'll let everything do its thing real quick. How much longer is there to this? Wow, that's still quite a way away. Holy. Damn. Okay. I'm waiting for everything to crunch the number to show, for it to show me how many times I've streamed for more than 5 hours. Yeah, stretch redeem where you get up and stretch for a bit. You know what? Sure. We can add that. So, I've streamed for 5 hours above for 37 streams. That's actually more than I expected. 8 streams for 7 hours and above. There are only 2 streams that there are only 2 streams where I stream for like 9 hours. Which the 9-hour figure is a bit much. To be fair, these streams are usually when I'm doing like a super long, like at the end of the game kind of playthrough. Although there are some Zomboid and VOTV streams like that as well. There's that one time where we do the long drive for like 6 hours. But that's gonna be very rare for me, because talking for 6 hours means like I have to like feeling like really decent physically, and I don't feel super decent today in terms of my stamina. It also doesn't help that the game is stuttering. I don't know what's going on here. It's like jumping up and down every 1 second. This game is very optimized. I don't know how streamers with full-time job do their own subathons. 'Cause I don't know how a subathon works other than ones that do it full-time, where like it's like, okay, well, I go to sleep, I wake up and I do stream. But like, what if you have a job? Now, with that being said, I don't think I'll ever run a subathon until I have like, I don't know, more than 20 subs at a time, which is an insane number for me. I'm grateful to even have like 10 subs. So I don't know, like, my point is, if I ever run a subathon, I don't know how long it's gonna last. It'll probably last like less than a day. They ask for a day off, maybe holiday. The problem is you can't really control how long the subathon goes for, right? Okay, technically you can. Some people do hard cap it, but you know, you don't. It's hard to expect. Like you don't know if the subathon is gonna run for like 3 days or like 7 days. Like, yeah, they might hard cap it at 7, but like you're not gonna ask for a 7-day off because you don't know how long it's gonna last. You could end like in like 3 days when your hard cap's like 7. Unless they just ask for 7 days off anyways, and then use the day off. Use the extra time as like actual day off. But even then, that's like wasted PTO, you know. Oop, oop. I get a good guess from a follower size. Even then, it's not like. Speaking of what followers count are we at? I think it was the 997 or something. Once again, I don't know the. I have the stats hidden, so I don't know the numbers. I don't think you can go have a bot for that. $996. Okay, they're pretty close to 1K. The other day, I thought about if it's possible to do an overlay where it like actually tells you when you hit certain milestone, like certain special things happen. You probably could, but I don't know how to write plugins for that. I'm not smart enough to program overlays. Most likely doable, probably already made. I'm sure. I just didn't look into it. What are we gonna do for like 1K beyond just like, oh, we hit 1K, yay. The slap next to chat, what do you mean? $1K, then 5K, then 10K. I don't think I'm ever gonna get to 5K, dude. By the time I hit 5K, it'll be like 2030 or something like that. I mean, it took me like 3 years to get to 1K. The overlay, because there's a space between you and Chad. No, I don't want like a progress bar on the overlay. I mean, just like I want something special to happen without anything on screen at all times. Like, you know, like it triggers at the count. I don't need a progress bar because the progress bar takes up space. I don't like that. I don't think it looks neat. I just want, like, you know, maybe like a confetti or something at like 1K. Or like freaking horn tooting at me. With like stuff thrown all over the place, etc., etc. I mean, I could probably program that in. Actually, no, I think I can program that in StreamerBot. Actually, I think that's doable. Okay, I might do that. And before you get confetti and hit 1K water in the restroom, I mean, that's fine. I was thinking, what if we did like 1K? What if when I hit 1K, I get hit by like 1,000 different objects in TITS? Because that's something I can already kind of do with Raid. The way I have it set up is that the amount of objects being thrown at me, it depends on the number of people that raided me. I mean, it's a number more like than a handful, but like technically, if anyone raids me with like 1,000 viewers, then they'll throw 1,000 objects at me. Granted, that's never happened, but still. GPU would die. I actually think it'll be fine. Like, okay. If I pull up StreamerBot right now, and if I do actions, where is it? So technically, I can do this right now. I can do like 1,000 things. Turn down your volume for this. Actually, no, I think the volume thing isn't working, but let me try.
Blue, red.
Yeah. That's 1,000 items. See, it works fine. I know there's no sound because I broke the sound before stream started, but you get the idea. It works. Actually, I'm going to restart TITS real quick so I can get sound working again. Turn down the volume for this, because it's going to be loud. Did I see Teto plushes and baguettes? Yeah, that's always been there. Okay, let me try that again. Turn down the volume, because it's going to be loud. 3, 2, 1.
Blue, red.
Oh, ow, 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 ow. Okay, it's not as loud as I thought. To be fair, I did turn down like 18 dB. Ow. Ow. Holy. Okay, that's good enough. You get the idea. So I can make that work, I think. I don't know if there's a trigger that I can use for that. I think that for 1,000 followers would be cool. Yeah, okay, I can arrange that. I'll figure something else. Figure something out. I don't know if there's a trigger I can use for that in In streamer bot, I'll figure it out. Make a check for follower count. I don't think you need to do that. I think I can just let me check. Add Twitch. Viewer count. No. Okay, make trigger every time if the add Twitch followers, get latest get follower count. Okay, yeah, I can. This is definitely doable. I'll figure it out off stream, assuming I don't hit 1K before that. And before you hit 1K followers in our stream, I feel like that's gonna be the case actually. Especially if one of my social media posts blow up again or something, then it might actually hit 1K before the stream. I guess it's more likely that I get followers offline than actually online these days for some reason. Because it's not like I get rated on. Well, no, I do get rated, but like, you know, very occasionally. Otherwise, no one's gonna be checking the long drive category. Just chatting, maybe. By the way, I still know how, like, I don't know how people in the just chatting category do it. Like, when your viewer count is like low, like how are people chatting? How is the streamer chatting to themselves for like 2 hours? A lot of them aren't chatting. Yeah, but no. There are a lot of VTuber streams that are genuinely just them talking to chat. But I don't think I can talk to chat for like 2 hours. A lot of them are just sitting there quietly. Damn. Do I have the damn emote here? I don't. I'm gonna add that. I wish there was a command I can use just to add. Because 7TV, for some reason, my Firefox doesn't like 7tv.app. It just tells me it's having trouble finding the site. That doesn't happen on Chromium for some reason. It's giving me bad requests. I feel like that's the thing. The current Firefox that I have. Weird. Anyways, I don't think I sit there quietly just have a chatting. Have a just chatting category. I think I would rather have a game. Yeah. So that's why I rarely get to use my just chatting overlay. I still have a just chatting overlay though. I just don't use it as frequently. Because I don't know what type of situation where we'd have like nothing on stream but just me. Well, like a lot of bigger streamers do it. And I'm like, cool, but I'm not a big streamer. Oh, come on there. It's a shame because I like the just chatting overlays. They look nice because Frequency did a good job. Just don't have much of an opportunity to use it. I knew a friend who used Rubber Ducky game with points you can be named after duck or koi fish and named after koi fish. Like those little things on the screen. Yeah, I've seen those a lot. Oh, no, I think are you talking about the rubber ducky game, where it's like I don't know, I forgot what the game quote unquote is called. The game is pretty much designed to be used on Twitch. I've seen those a few times. Like Marbles as well. Marbles is also one of those games that would not be nice, but the problem is you really need like a large amount of viewers for that. Maybe I'm just miserable, but I can't watch streams of bajillion things on the screen. Yeah, I mean, that's understandable. But like, what I mean is like chat and game in the corner and chat sprites on the bottom of the screen, 15 different callout sounds like confetti. Yeah, I understand. Thankfully, that is really not the case. That won't ever be the case here, because that also hurts my eyes. Well, no, it doesn't hurt my eye, but like, I don't think it looks as nice as opposed to just having a clean interface. I think I'd be fine not reading for a little bit. Then I'd be down for like another 30 minutes or something. Plastics, plastic duck simulator, yeah. Those are really only fitting for like large streamers though, with like more than a handful viewers, so they can be on screen, which is not me. Okay, I need to nap. You can still be small and have it. Yeah, the problem is it wouldn't look as nice, you know. And for mid-sized streamer, yeah, I mean, yeah, I think that'll work well for mid-sized streamer, because large, it gets really hectic. With that being said, though, I also don't really understand those games, aside from being a stream ending or stream starting thing. Like, as in, like, it doesn't really fit into the just chatting thing, I guess. Besides, when you're doing that, you're probably going to be on the gaming category. Sorry, the gaming overlay anyways. As opposed to... God damn it, not another one of these walls again. Okay. Wrap around, wrap around. Oh, I see a mansion up there. I guess I'll go straight. I hope that's not a mansion we've been to already. Oh, the game is lagging. That's a good sign. It's probably new. Things are being generated or something like that. Yep, the door is not open. That means we haven't been here. Hello? Anyone here? It's another one with the couch in front. Hello? Yeah, you're hungry, I get it. Uh-huh. Hello? Oh. Oops.
This place wants me to be here. I am just a
Bye-bye. Oh, where are they? I want to get rid of those guys first. Before I get surprise attacked somewhere. There's probably one down here. Oh, hello. There's one more somewhere around here. Probably upstairs. I love how my finger's just doing whatever. On the bottom right there. Hello? 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 One more. Hello? I think that's all. Yeah. That's a stool. That's a coolant tank? That's a fuel tank with a lot of water. Holy shit. Not that we need it. Okay, that's an oil tank. We could use that because it has oil inside. Isn't there another one of those guys around here? I feel like I can still hear them. Can you imagine how difficult this would be if the zombies were like Zomboy or Minecraft zombie reaction time? I don't think it'll be too bad. Ooh. Okay, and we got another revolver now. Cool. That's another water tank. Miss PZ might play it sometime. Yeah. Oil tank empty. Coolant empty. That's ew, wait, no, that's a revolver round. Holy shit, that's a lot of revolver rounds actually. Wow. Okay, we're definitely taking those. Oh wait, you can just have it in your inventory like that? Look. Oh, you guys can't see it, but it says 6 out of 36. So it'll just automatically reload if you have it in your inventory. Okay. Well, regardless, I'm putting that in there. We have 2 boxes. So let's get rid of the cacti on here. Something about having extra ammo is enjoyable. Like preparing for a rainy day, yeah. Not that we need this much ammo, but couldn't hurt to have some extra lying around. Well, that also means we can start shooting everything we see. Including those boxes. That's an engine. Okay, those are shotgun shells, which I don't really need. Revolver's fine enough. We said that when we had enough ammo and we went to Louisville and like spent like half of it. Yeah, but like this is not Louisville. No, it's never gonna be that bad in this game. Cause like there's like what? 3 zombies every 8 location at worst. That work? Okay, it did. Long Drive will never have a Louisville. I'm not even sure if Long Drive will get another update. I'll be honest. A lot of people are saying the game is abandoned. Apparently the Discord for the game is apparently empty now or something. Like the dev literally ran with it. Allegedly, anyways. I didn't really check. Oh. Well, talk about dying by hitting a rock. Well, when's our last save? Okay, that wasn't that long ago. Okay. Well, regardless, I think I'll be calling here because I am tired. None of the friends I follow are streaming. Cool. Let me check. August is streaming. Minecraft. Titanium cube on the road. Yeah, that happens. Pretty much running into any rock at a considerable force will do that to you. In real life too. So don't do that. Another VTuber streaming this category, huh? It's medium-sized. Just about to start driving, I think. Are there smaller, like medium-sized VTubers I can raid? No, it's either all too small or too big. How many people are... Oh, there are only 3 people streaming the game right now. Well, I don't know how, but they look like they're just about to start driving. Even though they've been streaming for 3 hours. Let me see if I can rate this person. Oh, they're under Mythic. I mean, that's fine. The thing is, this decent size. I have anxiety when I'm streaming like medium to large size streamers. Is there any streamer that's like under 100 viewers? Above 10 viewers that I can raid? No, I'll just send you guys to... We raid them for... Wait, what? Why did it not show up on my... They're live? Oh, they're not on my rated list for some reason. You have not raided them in the last 30 days. You know what? Sure. Wait. They're taking a break? So what, they're not even streaming right now? Seems like I'm late. A little bit. Yeah, I don't think they're streaming. They're just playing old VODs, it seems. Try to give me some suggestions for people to raid. Like if this were an hour later, then I think I can raid Vito, but... No one I know is live right now. I guess no one streams at this hour. Your friend of the cat streaming? Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Well. Oh my god, the cat is actually in front of the camera. Okay, you know what? You guys can go take a look at the cat. You'll see why I'm laughing in a little bit. Oh no, the cat is about to go away. No. Okay, go take a look at the cat. I'll be back. See you next time. Yeah.